Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Shadows over Amerca, a series where we step into the darkest moments in modern history, the tragedies, the disasters, the crimes, and the events that left scars on this country that still haven't healed. My name is William Purvis, and welcome to the Jebediah Calvin Myers YouTube channel. Tonight, we will be talking about Columbine High School Massacre. I was raised in the South where folks grew up hearing stories on front porches and warnings passed down like scriptures. And one thing I learned early is evil don't always look like a monster. Sometimes it walks through the front doors of a high school, unnoticed, unheard, until it was too late. This series ain't about glorifying killers. It ain't about shock value. It's about understanding the darkness that shaped these moments, the warning signs, the aftermath, and the lives forever changed by them. Tonight we travel back to April 20th, 1999 to a quiet little town called Littleton, where the halls of Columbine High School became the scene of one of the most horrifying school tragedies in American history. Before the sirens, before the headlines, before the nation stood frozen in disbelief, there were students laughing in cafeterias, teachers preparing lessons, students taking tests, parents expecting their children to come home, and some never did. And even now, decades later, the shadows of Columbine still hang over America like a storm cloud that never truly passed. So dim the lights, put the distractions away, grab some snacks, and step with me into the silence left behind. This is Shadows over America. April 20th, 1999, a Tuesday morning in Littleton. The skies were clear. Students at Columbine High School were heading to class like it was any other normal school day. Teenagers laughed in the hallways. Teachers prepared lessons. Friends gathered in the cafeteria. Nobody knew, but before noon, America would witness one of the darkest tragedies in its history. At approximately 11:10 a.m., two senior students arrived on campus separately. Investigators later discovered they had planted propane bombs inside the cafeteria earlier that morning. Bombs meant to explode during lunch and create mass casualties. But the bombs never detonated. And because they failed, the attackers began their assault manually. Around 11:19 a.m., the violence truly began outside on the west side of the school near the staircase leading towards the cafeteria entrance. Students eating lunch outside separately heard gunfire echo through the campus. At first, many thought it was a prank. Some even said that it sounded like rocks were being thrown against the window. Then people started falling, and they heard the screams. One of the first people to react was teacher Patty Nielsen. After hearing the gunshots and witnessing the chaos outside, she rushed towards the library area, warning students that something terrible was happening. Inside the halls, another heroic teacher, coach, and educator Dave Sanders immediately began warning students to run and get out of the building. Witnesses later said he shouted for students to flee and he guided many to safety through the cafeteria and hallways. His actions saved countless lives. But during the chaos, Sanders himself was shot while helping students escape. As panic spread, students crawled under tables, hid in closets, barricaded doors with anything they could find. The sound of alarms mixed with the screams and gunfire. By approximately 11:29 a.m., the attackers entered the school library. This would become the deadliest part of the tragedy. Dozens of terrified students hid under desks while gunfire erupted across the room. Survivors later described hearing prayers, crying, and the sound of silence between bursts of violence that felt forever. Within minutes, lives were stolen, families were shattered, and survivors were left carrying memories they would never escape. Outside the school, police, paramedics, and terrified parents gathered as confusion consumed the scene. News helicopters circled overhead, broadcasting the horror live across America. For nearly an hour after the library attack, the gunmen wandered through parts of the school and the halls and cafeteria. Surveillance footage later showed them moving through empty corridors while smoke alarms blared around them. And something I want to mention is that while students were actually leaving the school, the police were making them put their hands on their head and frisking them before they left, because apparently these two seniors were changing their clothes, trying to blend in. Shortly after 12:08 p.m., the violence ended inside the library, where it had reached its most horrifying peak. By the end of the tragedy, 12 students and one teacher had lost their lives. More than 20 others were injured. In Columbine, a name that once tied to an ordinary American high school, became forever connected to tragedy. But what made this event shake the nation so deeply wasn't just the violence itself bad enough. It was the question that haunted America afterwards. How did nobody stop it before it began?
Jefferson County 911.
Yes, I am a teacher at Columbine High School. There is a student here with a gun. He has shot out a window. I believe one I've been
Columbine High School.
I don't know what's in my shoulder. If it was just a last beat through it.
Okay, has anybody been injured, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the school is in a panic. And I'm in the library. I've got students down under the table, kids. Heads under the table.
After the smoke cleared over Columbine High School, America was left asking one haunting question. How did nobody stop this before it began? To understand that question, we have to travel to the home lives and understand the two young men responsible for the massacre. Their names were Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. Both were seniors at Columbine. Both appeared on the outside to live fairly ordinary suburban lives. Eric Harris was described by many as intelligent, angry, and deeply manipulative. His father was a former Air Force transport pilot, and the Harris family moved several times before settling in to Colorado. Eric reportedly struggled with rage, resentment, and feelings of superiority over others. He often wrote violently in journals and online posts discovered after the attack. Dylan Klebold was different in many ways. Friends described him as quieter, more withdrawn, depressed, and emotionally isolated. His parents were involved in his life and by most accounts cared deeply for him. But investigators later discovered writing showing intense self-hatred and suicidal thoughts hidden beneath the surface. And this is where the warning signs begin. Years before the attack, both boys had already gotten into legal trouble after breaking into a parked van and stealing electronics. They were arrested and entered into a juvenile diversion program. Too many adults around them. It looked like they were improving. But behind closed doors, the darkness kept growling. Eric Harris had created violent writings online threatening people and describing fantasies involving destruction and murder. Some local residents even reported his website to authorities before the shooting occurred. Investigators later learned there were missed opportunities that might have uncovered the true danger earlier. Classmates noticed disturbing behavior. Teachers reported violent stories and aggressive attitudes. Friends later admitted hearing disturbing comments involving death and hatred. But in the late 1990s, school shootings on this scale were almost unimaginable to most Americans. Many warning signs that today would trigger immediate intervention were either minimized, misunderstood, or never fully connected together. And perhaps the most chilling reality of all, the attackers themselves had spent months planning the massacre in secret. They gathered weapons, built homemade explosives, recorded videos discussing their plans, and studied previous acts of violence. This was not a sudden outburst. It was a calculated plan. When investigators pieced together journals and recordings left behind, they found two troubled young men consumed by rage, hopelessness, hatred, and a desire to leave beyond infamy. So where are the shooters now? At approximately 12:08 p.m. on April 20th, 1999, both attackers died inside of the library of Columbine High School from self-inflicted gunshot wounds after carrying out the massacre. Their deaths ended the violence but not the pain. You see, these two men were imagining either a massive firefight with the cops or taking themselves out. That's how they wanted to go. Suicide was how they wanted to go.
Kids are screaming, and the teachers are, trying to take control. We need police here.
Okay, we're getting them there.
Police here.
Who is the student, ma'am?
I do not know who the student is.
Okay.
I saw a student outside. I was in hall duty. Oh, God. Okay. I was on hall duty. I saw a gun. I said, what's going on out there? And he said, oh, it's probably for video production. It's probably a joke. I said, well, I don't think that's a good idea. And I went walking outside. I think he was down to see what was going on. He turned the gun straight at us and shot. And my God, the window went out. And the kid standing there with me, I think he got hit.
While the shooters became part of history, the survivors, victims' families, teachers, first responders, and the entire community of Littleton were left carrying the trauma after the headlines faded away. Long after. And even now, decades later, Columbine still stands as a warning about untreated mental struggles, isolation, violence, and the consequences of ignored warning signs. The tragedy didn't just change one school, it changed America forever. And now we're going to get into Chapter 3. How did it change America?
Okay.
Something in my shoulder.
Okay. We've got help on the way, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Stay on the line with me.
Oh, God. Hey, Ted, just stay down.
Do we know where he's at?
I'm sorry?
Do we know where he's at?
Okay. I'm in the library. He's upstairs. He's right outside of here.
He's outside?
He's outside of this hall.
Outside of a hall or outside?
The hall. Of the
Okay.
library. There are alarms and things going off now. Smoke. My God, smoke is like coming into this room.
Okay.
I've got the kids under the table here. I don't know what's happening in the rest of the building. Also, like smoke in the building. I don't know. I'm sure someone has to be calling 911 beside
Yes,
me.
we've got a lot of people on. Okay. I just want you to stay in the line with me. We need to know what's going on.
Okay.
Okay?
I am on the floor.
Okay. And you've got the kids
in the
there?
library, and I've got every student in this library on the floor. You better stay on the floor.
Is there any way you can lock the doors?
Smoke is coming in from out there, and I'm a little afraid. The gun is right outside the library door, okay? I don't think I'm going to go out there. Okay, you're at Columbine High School? I got 3 children.
Okay, we got it.
Okay? I'm not going to go to the door to shut the door, okay? I've got the kids on the floor. I got all the kids in the library on the floor.
We have paramedics, we have fire, and we have police en route, okay, sir?
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
I don't know. I can't believe he's not out of bullets. He just keeps shooting and shooting and shooting.
Okay, yeah, we've got a police officer on scene.
I thought it was...
Okay, just try and keep the kids in the library calm.
Yeah.
Is there any way you can block the door so no one can get in?
I do not...
Okay.
I guess I can try to go, but he's right outside that door. I'm afraid to go to the door.
That's okay.
That's where he is. I'm not afraid to go there, okay?
That's okay.
Okay, I told the kids to get on the floor. I told them to get under the table. All of the children are on the floor under the table. Yeah, they're all under the tables.
Okay.
And
as long as we can just try and keep...
No one's saying a word.
Okay, as long as we can keep everyone there as calm as we can.
I hear some yelling out there going on right now.
Yeah, we've got alarms going off now as well.
Yeah, there's alarms. This room is filled with smoke.
Okay.
Okay.
Keep everyone low to the floor.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's up. Okay. Everyone stay on the floor. Stay on the floor. Stay under the table.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, I know, just...
I don't know. I didn't... I said, what is that kid got? He was outside at the time. And I was on call duty. Oh, God. He's trying, he's like, woo, woo, woo.
I know.
Things are being shut off. I do not know who the student was. I don't even think I saw him. He was wearing black. He didn't look very large. Male student. He was out there shooting. It looked like he was pointing out and shooting. And somebody, I said, what is that? I said, what's going on out there? It's a wiretap gun. It's probably for video productions. You know, they do these video productions. And the kids, I said, well, that's not, you know, a play gun, a real gun. I was going out there to say no. And I went, oh my God, that was really close. That was
Okay.
I know it's not me.
What's your name, ma'am?
My name is
Patty?
Patty. She's yelling everybody get up right now. She's in the library. She's saying everybody get up right now.
Okay.
She's in the library. I have him in the library shooting at students. The lady that I have in the library on the phone.
Okay, try and keep as many people down as we can. Okay. Do you know who he is? Okay.
Before Columbine, many schools across the country felt open, almost innocent. Students walked through unlocked doors, security cameras were limited, armed officers inside schools were uncommon, and active shooter drills barely existed in most communities. But after Columbine, fear entered the classroom. Schools across America began installing metal detector security systems, surveillance cameras, locked entrances, and emergency response plans. Police departments created active shooter training programs modeled after the failures and lessons learned from that day in Littleton. Hell, my school even did. The tragedy also transformed the way the media covered violence. For weeks, television stations replayed the images non-stop. Terrified students escaping through windows, helicopters circling overhead, parents crying outside the school begging for answers. The nation watched in horror together. And suddenly, conversations about bullying, mental health, violent media, gun laws, depression, school safety, and youth isolation exploded across America. Some blamed music, some blamed video games, others blamed parenting, access to weapons, or the warning signs authorities missed. But one thing was undeniable: the illusion that something like this could never happen here was shattered forever. In the years that followed, Columbine became more than a tragedy. It became a symbol. Survivors of the massacre carried emotional scars into adulthood. Teachers and first responders spoke openly about trauma. Survivors' guilt and PTSD, families who lost loved ones dedicated their lives to advocacy, school safety reform, and mental health awareness. And sadly, Columbine also became the blueprint for future acts of violence. Investigators later discovered that numerous attackers and later school shootings studied Columbine's obsessively, treating the perpetrators as infamous figures rather than warnings. That realization changed how journalists, law enforcement, and psychologists discussed mass violence. Over time, many experts began encouraging people to focus less on glorifying attackers and more on honoring victims and survivors. Even decades later, the echoes of Columbine still remain. Students today grew up practicing lockdown drills before they fully understood algebra. Teachers are trained not only to educate but to protect. Parents still feel a quiet fear every time they send their children to school after hearing breaking news alerts about another tragedy somewhere in America. Columbine changed the vocabulary of this country. Words like active shooter, lockdown, and school safety protocol became part of everyday life. And perhaps the most heartbreaking truth of all, an entire generation grew up learning how to hide from gunfire before they learned how to drive a car. But through the darkness, there were also stories of courage, teachers who shielded students, students who helped wounded classmates escape, families who turned unimaginable grief into activism and compassion. Because while evil left its mark on Columbine, so did bravery. And maybe that's the final lesson hidden beneath the tragedy, that even in humanity's darkest moments, there are still people willing to stand between fear and the innocent. This has been Shadows over America, and this story, like the echoes left behind, will never truly fade. And with that, we close the first chapter in Shadows over America. Tonight we look back at one of the darkest days in American history, not to fear and glorify violence, not to make monsters into legends, but to remember the lives forever changed by tragedy, and to understand the warnings history leaves behind. To the victims, the survivors, the families, and everyone still carrying the scars of Columbine High School, this story is remembered with respect.